high-grade Gundam Age-3 Fortress. Hey, what's up again, everybody? Robert184, 2Rs2Bs, Gundam Reviews.net. And you've already seen the unbox and the individual parts, although it is sort of interesting that he's not going to have separate weapons. These guns are just going to be built into the arms themselves. But now it's time to put it all together and check out this MS Fortress when it's all complete. And when he's all put together and purpled up, well, what do you think of this? Definitely one of the more unique color schemes I think that you're going to see on a Gundam. You've got that little bit of tricolor involved in the chest, and that yellow, definitely the secondary color, it seems, all over the body. But the purple is definitely going to stand out, probably in a better way. You may have seen in the parts video that I didn't have the seals on the waist section there. I actually think it may actually look better without the seals on. Of course, you've got the choice to just omit them if you want. But the fact that the guns have the gray, the purple, and those black seals on the side, and everything else is looking pretty sharp. I'm also going to say I'm just a little bit surprised by the height. I thought he might sort of become a little squatter or a lower version, similar to what we saw with the Titus compared to the extra height that the Orbital or Sparrow may add on. Anyway, definitely looking sharp. Let's see how he works out though. For posability, where the waist skirt is going to flip up there, remember that you can push it down further if you want, and you can bring the leg forward for a kick. The side skirt's only going to come up at about 45 degrees, but nonetheless, you can almost get full splits out of this guy if you wanted to. For the bend of the knee, remember it's going to go like this, and you can bring it forward like that, and the ankles are going to have a fair bit of mobility down there, off to the side, more than you'd expect, forward and back, and remember that this and this is both going to open up, and if you want to go orbital style. Upper body now, where you can rotate this around and move the white on top of the red there. So overall, he's sort of got a loose feel to the upper body. Just lots of moving parts, including those shoulders up there that are actually going to be done up in purple. Those will move up and down, unlike the blue, or well, the blue is also going to move, but the color is different from the normal and the orbital. You can rotate the arm around there, and you can move this shoulder part up ever so slightly here. On that part there, you're also going to be able to move this part up and out of the way, so if you wanted to bring the arm off to the side, you could. You'll notice the way the whole shoulder just pops up there. You've already seen for the big guns up here that they're not going to have a lot of movement from the front especially, but from the sides it actually looks not all that bad. But you can bring them up almost 90 degrees, which is going to look pretty sharp. You're going to get a nice bend with the elbows there, so you could bring them up barrel to barrel if you so wanted to. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Remember, these are the closed extra fists that you're only going to get on the Fortress variation of this, and these do not move. For comparison time, the Fortress is gonna look big, except when you put them next to the monsters that are things like Unicorn or Nu, or absolute beasts like the high-grade Universal Century by Arland Custom. But next to his later contemporaries, here's Kio's Age FX, his second lead. Without the C-funnels, they're all being launched off on the painted blue version, soon to be replaced by the actual painted blue by Bandai version. And you can see that the Fortress is definitely going to be a lot larger, especially with the shoulders and the blocky legs and waist. Next to his advanced grade counterpart, you can see that most of those color wraps that should be there are going to be there. You're going to be missing out some white on the top of the actual feet there. And outside of that, the purple seals and the yellow on the side of the skirts are going to be missing, but all the details are going to be there in the chest and the shoulders. You've even got gray on the inside of the elbows. Just the big thing that's lacking is the fact that you can't move these cannons independently there. You're going to have to swing the whole arm up, which is really going to look sort of lame depending on who he's shooting at, unless he happens to get attacked from the front and the top at the same time. And finally, next to the Sarah V2, as I'd like to pretend it is, instead of just being a black painted version of the Sarah V from the second season of Gundam 00 there, you can definitely see that there's going to be a lot of similarities there. Starting with the shoulder cannons, these ones are definitely going to be a lot longer though, what you're seeing over here with the Fortress, as opposed to these ones, which is sort of surprising that they're so short, considering they actually end up becoming limbs. These parts are very O-ish here, not going to have anything like that on Fortress, but in terms of the guns, Sarah V is going to take the edge in terms of size for the ones that go in the arms, but this guy just seems to have them being a little bit more practical, as they're down, out of the way, and perhaps could be used to do something else like hold a beam saber at the same time, if Bandai included it, but if they didn't, well, you can just go and borrow some from your other kits. To posing now, which is definitely going to have some pros and cons, starting with the looking down the barrel of the arm cannons anyway. I suppose you've got to decide whether you want to go top or bottom for the barrel that he's choosing to look down. He definitely can do it, however, you are going to be forced to have this cannon up here in the air, so you can't really have them going parallel with each other there. And whatever you're going to do with that other arm as well, if you do any sort of twisting, then that other cannon up there is going to be forced to going off the side. However, the legs are doing a very good job of staying flat, and he's definitely got some cool blocky looking poses, and either way, as long as you've got two guns going in either direction, or at least in say two directions, it definitely looks like he's taking on a big group of bad guys, and he can do it effectively. If you're looking for inspiration around the box or in the instruction manual, it looks like Bandai may have also run out of ideas. Yeah, you can get the legs into a variety of positions, and you can have the guns going off to the side, but just the fact that he's always going to be focused on the forearm guns, it looks like, means those shoulder guns are just going to be sort of overhanging the shoulders and not looking all that practical. That being said, it's definitely not an all bad pose by any measure. And though your first tendency might be to think, as I did, that the orbital is definitely made to be airborne, and the Fortress not so much, actually I'd sort of argue, just looking at these kind of things, that maybe the Fortress has even more to gain from being up in the air, despite his domish appearance from what you'd think on first glance. First of all, the tiptoes are going to work out pretty well. You may see the silver stickers there, ever so slightly, especially if he's rotating around, unless you're actually going to bring up the legs for a kick. But if you take a look at the shoulders there, they're pretty much bent all the way back, and if you want to do that, you can just elevate the top cannons and bring up the forearms. So in this way, you can actually have them all going in parallel, while not just having him bring his arms up 90 degrees, very similar to a pretty lame looking, even less than advanced grade would provide. For the transformation, you've already seen me transform the normal and the orbital, and if you're hoping with the lower body to get anything fancier than a 90-degree bend of the legs and opening up the waist armor there and bending the toes, nope, that's all you're going to be getting here. And if your hopes were high for a Zeta-like chest transformation, well no, all you're going to do is pop off the regular chest, replace it with this little fake one here, and you're going to take the arms, twist the manipulators down there, and just bend up the cannons here, and you can guess that they're all just going to slap on the side. And when he's all done, you are going to have definitely one of the least inspiring transformations I think we've seen in Gundam. It pretty much just looks like the lower body, you just bend those 90 degrees, as you guessed, and you're just going to bend the arms through 180 degrees, make sure all four cannons are facing in the same direction, and the fact that you're actually just going to have the whole chest removed and replaced by a fake part in there is just going to make him look all the more fact that he just looks a little bit truncated. And for the full show, with the core fighter attached on top there, remember that you can actually move around this custom action base here and have the gray parts move ever so slightly up and down there. Same thing for the core fighter up top. It's definitely going to take away to have that blue and yellow up there with the nice little white touches and the clear green. The clear green definitely stands out on both parts that it's actually attached onto. The purple is just sort of going to blend in, but in a way, when you're looking at that, and the fact that you're actually not going to have all that much freedom here with the guns, the arms are actually going to be locked into place, so you can't really even have them twisted out and pointing in interesting directions, and the fact that these guns up here also can't rotate more than a few degrees left to right means that you're not going to have very many options other than exactly what you're seeing here. And when you compare it to something like Master Grade Aegis, with a similar design at least with the four things going forward, this one doesn't seem so hot. So that'll wrap up my look at the mobile suit and the transformation here, G-Hopper form of the Age-3 Fortress. Why don't you let me know what you think of either the MS or the transformation with a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. And stick around for my verdict, where I'll have a complete list of all the good and bad things that I could pick out of this non-CeraVe pre-Age FX suit. Anyway, everybody, as always, thanks for watching. See you next time. Right now, advanced grade Age-3 Fortress is unstoppable. As long as you don't ask him to actually change his pose.